What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the ASL. We're here for Group B in the round of 24. Looks like we're not going to get an intro video, so we're just going to hop right into it. Getting into these interviews, I'm super excited for this group. We have two of the most exciting Terran players here on the stage today, TY and Speed. These two guys are incredible. They're up and coming. And I swear, Xun, these guys are going to dominate the Terran scene at some point in the future. We've also got an ASL champion up here, JYJ, on screen right now. It's easy to forget that this guy's an ASL champion, but he took down Mind for his ASL championship. Managed to make it through in TVT, but we kind of think of him as more of a TVZ specialist these days, so...
Yeah,
we'll see.
yeah.
We'll see how
JYJ has always been a bit of a TVZ specialist, coming up a little bit short in that mirror. He did lose to Ride Sky in the semifinals, which was a TVT in day one attempt of his qualifiers. Then he beat Hani, also a Terran player, in the finals as his next run. Also TVT, like I said. So a bit of back and forth in his mirror matchup mastery. We also had Bisu taking out Noob in the finals to get revenge on Noob, knocking out our boy Scan. That's why you don't see Scan here, because he was taken out by Noob, who was dispatched by Bisu, which we're getting on screen now. Speed, he beat Free in the semifinals and Royal in the finals of his day one group. So he's actually in pretty good fighting condition for our today's group, I would say. If he's beating both good Protoss players and Terran players alike, yeah, maybe he's gonna be a real contender for this group. Now we got Baby. He lost the TVT against Piano in the semifinals, day one attempt, but he also did beat Fungzi. Interesting note there, because that was in the finals match, which does make Fungzi another non-Korean making history after such a long time, alongside his comrade Mihu there, almost breaking through into the ASL, which is absolutely insane to think about, that two Chinese players are like one game away from breaking into the ASL, Sam.
I'm glad to have TY here, but that would have been so cool if Fungzi managed to make it in. TY, such a legend, though, in the StarCraft 2 scene. Any of you guys who follow StarCraft 2 will know that name immediately. He's called a baby here because he started out in StarCraft 1 so long ago, just as a little kid, one of the youngest pro gamers of all time. What was it, 9 years old when he started playing?
9, he was playing in online tournaments already, so he probably started before the age of 9, and it took him until the age of 12, not even a teenager, and he got picked up by We Made Fox, a pro gamer team. Imagine that, guys. 12 years old and a pro gamer team is picking you up. This guy's pretty good.
Yeah, he is very good. We got Bisu on stage here. And he's got a pretty sweet group for himself. A lot of Terran players here. And he should be just able to prepare for one matchup. That gives him a little bit of an edge in this group. But do you think Bisu can make it through here today?
I mean, I think he will make it through, and not for the reasons that most of viewers at home think. Now, just because there's 3 Terrans in this group doesn't mean it's going to be an easy ride for Bisu. Yes, he just has to practice that one versus Terran matchup, but the reality is these 3 guys are completely different spectrums of Terran players who have totally different gaming styles and approach to that matchup. Just for one example, TY is very harassment centric of a player, very highly mechanic orientated, and won't necessarily play the game as intended. He sometimes thinks of the game in almost like a StarCraft 2 sense, where he will carry on phases of the game which other players will put to bed very quickly, whereas TY is very happy to just stay locked in with his game plan no matter what's going on.
A TY here, he's not any stranger to the big stage, but has only had brief little tries in the ASL. We're expecting big things of him in the future, though. That mechanical ability and game sense, it just doesn't go away when you switch over to StarCraft 1. That's going to shine through eventually once he gets all the fundamentals down and really starts to learn the game. We could see him go very deep in the tournament. Is that this season, though? I'm not so sure. I have put up my predictions on my YouTube channel already, so most of you guys already know, but I'm really predicting Speed and Bisu to go through here today. I don't think that JYJ has what it takes these days to get deep in an ASL, but I could be wrong.
My brain tells me the same thing, that Bisu and Speed will be advancing out of this group. However, I do have a soft spot in my heart for TY, baby. And I really do feel like the group is kind of lined up for him to take it. Like, JYJ is probably the weakest Terran versus Terran player out of all three of them on a bad day. So I think if Baby can somehow beat JYJ in this game number 1, Bisu beats Speed, then it's Baby versus Bisu in a winner's match. There's a chance. There's a small chance that somehow Bisu's not quite warmed up yet or feeling comfortable. He did make a lot of blunders in the last ASL season. Baby could swipe him down and just jump ahead into the next round of 16 2-0. It's very unlikely, but I give a tiny puncher's chance to him.
Yeah, JYJ did end up winning an ASL over Mind a few years back, but I don't think his TVT is quite as strong as it used to be. And we got some great TVT players here. Speed is an absolute beast. Went through the round of 24 last season without taking a single loss. Had me so excited, Xun. I was extremely excited for this guy. I was casting his games all the time. He was laddering like crazy. Hasn't been on the ladder as much lately. Might be practicing harder in custom games with some newfound friends because he's on the come up. A lot of people are going to want to play with him. A lot of people are going to want to practice with him. Maybe some of these stronger players taking him under their wing and helping him to come up. So I'm really excited to see what he has today.
Yeah, he did get knocked out in the round of 16 last season. It was a little bit of a disappointment. Jaedong and Best came out ahead of him, but so did Sharp. Sharp lost that group 0-2, whereas Speed went out 1-2. So somehow performing better than Sharp in that group, I still think is commendable for Speed, despite being eliminated last season. We'd like to see more great things from him here today as well. He was playing out of his mind in that round of 24 in those TVTs. 400 APM of just pure, raw mechanics dominating the field. I would love to see it again here today in this Terran-centric lineup, Sam.
Yeah, he was looking so scary last season, round of 24. His group, though, you just reminded me of that, Xun. Just a nasty group to go into in the round of 24. His performance was a little bit disappointing, but then again, that group is absolutely nasty. So we'll see if he can make it through here today. I'm definitely cheering for Speed, my boy. He kind of let me down last season. I hope he manages to take it home here today and go deeper this tournament.
Yeah, I just hope that it's Bisu and Speed or Bisu and Baby, as in TY. I'd be happy with either of those results. I'm not a big fan of JYJ, despite him being a very solid player. My heart is with TY. My brain is with Speed, so I'm on the similar wavelength to you, saying I'm happy with either one of those results. And let's just cross our fingers that Bisu doesn't choke and have some crazy blunders like last season, because those were so uncharacteristic of any pro gamer, much less such a dragon and a champion as himself.
Oh my goodness, that kind of slipped my mind actually, Xun. Last season, Bisu forgetting Storm. You remember that? Oh my goodness, guys. It's hard to live that one down among your peers here at the ASL. That's like a Tyson level mistake in the biggest tournament in the world, the most important tournament. Bisu has so many fans, guys. He packs the studio to the rafters with kind of rabid fans every single time he plays, and letting them down like that, that's got to hurt.
I mean, these guys are essentially rock stars in their country, saying back in the day, in the Kesper era, the country was slipping into a bit of a recession, and one cheap form of entertainment was StarCraft, so much so that it became so prevalent and prolific in that scene that they had 2 entire TV channels just dedicated to nothing but StarCraft action. Imagine being in a hotel room, flipping on your TV, and there's 2 channels where they're doing nothing but playing StarCraft all day long. That was essentially what this country was doing back then, and why they have so many fans holding them dearly in their hearts to this day.
Yeah, during that time, also Nintendo was boycotted in Korea, so it was very hard to get a Nintendo system or any game system, Sony or otherwise. Korea and Japan haven't had the greatest relations over the years, and that really drove the Korean players to the PC scene and
Yeah.
consequently to Brood War during that time period. And so it's just kind of a funny mix of geography and history that's kind of allowed this game to proliferate to such a high degree here in Korea.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Basically, everyone was flocking to PC bongs instead of, sitting at home with their games consoles. And pretty much every single PC in those PC bongs had StarCraft on that system. Everyone was playing it. So you had a little bit of FOMO as well. You didn't want to be the guy missing out on the action. So even if you didn't necessarily like games, you probably tried StarCraft. There's people that are in their 60s, old men that have played StarCraft. It's crazy how prolific it is in their culture. This game is in their blood, saying, and why they've been so successful at dominating both the national and international scenes. However, we've finally got a few Chinese players coming up in the rankings, almost breaking through into the ASL. This might be, just might be, the last ASL where it's purely Korean players, saying.
I hope that's the case. I hope we get some of those Chinese players in there. They've been grinding so incredibly hard. They definitely deserve a shot here. At some point, we're going to see them come in, and that's going to completely change the entire scene, man. Once Chinese players start to make it in, I mean, it's going to absolutely blow up in China as well. Like, these guys are super nationalistic, and once they start doing well in any sort of sport, the amount of attention that it gets in their home country is insane.
Yeah, you can actually see the statistics represented here for JYJ looking a lot healthier than his online tournament runs. Maybe his nerves of steel helping out in these offline events kind of pick up the slack in this versus Terran Mirror matchup. TY here, as you can see, a baby in nature and to ASL. He's a Kesper era player, switched over to StarCraft 2. He's only recently started coming back to Brood War in recent years, but even Flash heavily endorses this guy. I think Flash was actually betting money on him beating other pro gamers even before he had the chance to practice much. And just pure mechanics and muscle memory alone were propelling him forward against players that were in the modern meta. And this guy hadn't been in the scene for years, and he was still able to hang with them. It's crazy how much StarCraft's in this guy's blood.
Yeah, it's hard to replace that level of knowledge and the muscle memory that's born from starting out life grinding this beautiful game. Guys, we're about to get started.
Yeah, both players already, guys. The ASL Season 20 Group B first match between TY and JYJ on Dominator. Let's get it started.
All right, the fans are hyped. And those of you guys in the chat, thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out. We got JYJ spawning over here in the bottom left. We got TY center right on Dominator. And before we get this one started, just want to let you guys know we've got a Patreon page for all of our duo casts. Xun and I are going to be casting the ASL, the SCSL, as well as the KCM. Looking for more events to cast for you guys. At least 3 casts per week is kind of where we're at this point. And so if you guys can help us out, support the casts, support the duo, we very much appreciate it.
Yeah, that's basically our new Patreon page we've made. That's Saiyan Xun Duo Cast. So if you just search for Saiyan Xun, SAIYAN XUN, scroll down, you'll find it there. We appreciate all of your support, even if you just sign up for free as a member. We really do love all of you guys, and we want to keep doing this for many years to come.
Oh, and just a note, we're going to be posting all of the information about when we're casting, where we're casting, and all of that info is going to be up on the Patreon page. So even if you're not going to support, just join as a free member. You get tons of information about upcoming casts. And yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be a good resource for you guys going forward.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to just this tournament in general, saying like I can't even believe that we get to cast the ASL and bring you these great games. Seems like both players more or less going for mirrored openings here. Barracks in the center along the periphery of the base so they can float it out a little bit quicker. The main issue I want to see here is either one going to be a little bit greedy. Like sometimes you'll see a player make only one singular Marine from this barracks to ward away the SCV scout, but that's kind of risky, especially on these like low ground bases. You're kind of worried about like a forward, like, you know, BBS or something just annihilating you. You kind of have to make at least 2 Marines to be super safe against that early pressure, especially on maps like this. But will one of these guys get super greedy and just lift that Rax after the first Marine?
Yeah, that's dangerous. Not sure either player wants to play with fire here. Both guys gonna set up their factories, and so far we see 1 Marine on either side. Wait, might have delayed the Marine a little bit there for JYJ. TY gets his Marine out here in front. Will deny the SCV scout from getting in for the time being. Yes, going for 2 Marines here. Both players being pretty safe, making sure they have all the defenses necessary, at least for this opening part of the game.
Yeah, I believe... Oh, TY is going for 2 factory. Okay, right off the bat. We'll have to see what JYJ wants to throw down. He's actually only got 1 on gas, so he won't be throwing down another factory for a little bit of time here, instead optimizing more for minerals. Now, we saw even a 228 factory from TY. Usually 229 is the optimization, but he's really on top of his mineral optimizations that it seems like he is very on schedule with his timings, kind of indicating just how much practice this guy has put into the game. And he's adapted to a more modern take on how to squeeze every little drop of juice out of the orange. I'm sure he's always been pretty good at that, but I mean, the reality is that the reason why Flash was so dominant in the past was that he knew all of these optimizations before any of these players even knew it was a thing. Even before they knew that the return cargo trick on that top mineral patch boosted it from like the worst mineral patch to the best mineral patch. Flash was doing that for way in advance of these other guys. And now pretty much everyone in the scene, even you guys on the ladder, know a lot of those tricks. So seeing also TY now kind of understand all those modern optimizations means he'll be able to play more tenacious than he ever has before.
Going around the top side here, TY trying to disguise his build, and he is going to come in here now with the 2 vultures. Going to go ahead and target down the Marines first. That's a good call when you're trying to win this vulture fight. The Marine adds a lot of DPS, but it dies very quickly. 1 Marine here left for TY, and this second vulture going to go down for JYJ. The SCV even here repairing as well. This is really well calculated by TY, and he's even going to attack the vulture with the SCV.
No
Look
way.
at that.
Ooh.
Dude, he's getting so much damage here. Oh, the surround on the SCVs is huge. But a lot of SCVs are starting to go down now. JYJ falling further and further behind, and the double factory here for JYJ after the command center, it's going to start to kick in, but I mean, he's going to lose so much here. This might just be over.
Yeah, it's really painful. Look how far ahead TY is in supply. He's still holding the high ground. That's why he went for a strategy like this. He knew that if JYJ was just a little bit greedy with this CC timing, he'd be able to secure the high ground and prevent JYJ getting favorable trades, even though it's 2 factories versus 2 factories. He slowed down the 3rd factory being built, has the high ground advantage. JYJ cannot push up this ramp cost efficiently enough, and more vultures showing up for TY as well. Finally, the SCV train gonna try and help buy a little bit of time for the vultures to sneak up here and get their toes up onto this ledge, but not before many of those SCVs falling as well, crippling the economy further, and pretty good target firing from TY as well, completely devastating all of these vultures of JYJ. TY is doing it, saying this is exactly what I was hoping for him in this group, for him to win this game number 1 and jump ahead straight into this winners match. It's 40 supply to 18. I think he's done it.
Yeah, he's definitely done it here. So many SCVs going down, and we're just waiting for the tap out now for JYJ. This really hurts to be going down in such a fashion. Game number 1 here. Ouch. JYJ loses to the 2 factory of TY.
TY just grabs JYJ, flips him upside down, starts to shake him and says, "Give me your lunch money, buddy, because I'm back in the scene."
Absolutely brutal. Not able to get that scout off, and I love the way that TY moved through the middle of the map there, disguising the build as long as possible. JYJ completely caught with his pants down, out on the map when he absolutely should not have been.
I mean, I just don't even know what to say about that. I'm getting chills with how much of a one-sided affair that was. You don't usually see TVT games end that quickly. I'm sure a lot of you non-Terran players back at home are feeling actually fantastic about that. Maybe you were worried that today would take so long getting through these TVT maps in split map slogs. No. The modern meta of StarCraft has completely evolved. TVT is a much more dynamic, fast-paced, octane-packed matchup, and these very quick games are very possible. Even in the longer games now, there's so much more task switching and all kinds of craziness going on. Look at this maneuver from TY, sneaking from the center of the map, securing the high ground, forcing JYJ into retreat, getting good movement shots on that vulture, softening it up and just preventing anything from JYJ from being successful. No matter what he does here is essentially wrong. He even did a great boxing in of this other vulture with the SCVs, but it wasn't good enough. The target firing, the mini games, the power of TY to establish this much dominance so quickly is almost unheard of in the modern era, Sam.
Yeah, those were some very good moves from TY, but he caught JYJ off guard. Was able to get a quick win here with the 2-factory play. It's a very good opener, and you know what? This is the best of one. It's not like he's got to turn around and play another game versus JYJ. That's done. JYJ is down to the loser's match, and TY's moving forward. So an amazing early build here. Just go ahead and eliminate TY immediately. Excuse me, I gotta go ahead and cover up the advertisement here. We're gonna go to a short commercial break, guys. When we get back, we're gonna have that secondary match. Go ahead and say hi to YouTube, guys, in the soup chat. We'll be right back. All right. Speed versus Bisu is coming right up, guys. Very exciting match. This should be one of the better matchups here today. Bisu and Speed. The old guard here in Bisu going up against Speed, the up-and-coming Terran menace. this guy was the top of the ladder. He's kind of taken the place, or Ample's kind of taken his place from last season, being the very top of the ladder and having a lot of interest from fans thinking that he's going to go deep. And this year he's kind of retreated into the shadows. He's not been as active on the ladder, but maybe he's been practicing hard and getting some great custom game experience with some of these awesome players.
Yeah, I mean, he did beat both Free and Royal to get into the ASL here. So, I mean, I would say he's in pretty good fighting condition, like I talked about earlier. I'm not sure exactly how good this guy is, but I would say, you know, the fighting shape he's in, probably reasonable enough to be a contender here. I think the problem is that Bisu is just such an animal when he's playing his best. If somehow Bisu is on his A game today, I don't think Speed has a snowball's chance in hell. It's just the reality of the situation. And look at these statistics from Bisu in live events in this ASL tournament, how dominant he is in this Protoss versus Terran matchup specifically, just shy of 60%. I can't even tell you how crazy that is. 50% is impressive in this event. So anything beyond that is just crazy. This guy has always been an absolute menace in the scene. He basically revolutionized Protoss versus Zerg as well. He's been an innovator, a trailblazer, but he's up against Speed, who, you know, hasn't really shown that many games that are that great against Protoss. So I really do feel like Bisu is slapping down Speed here, which will mean we'll have a Bisu versus TY winners match. And I think that would be something special.
I don't know, Xun. I think Speed got this. I don't think those stats really show the full story. Speed has come up so like a meteoric rise over the past season. That's true. So much stronger. And I mean, that 80% win rate in Terran TVT, that doesn't look, or that looks scary, but also not a whole lot of games behind that. Those stats are going to start to even out. And like you said, Xun, anything above 50% is pretty good. Once you get into, you know, a lot of games, it's pretty rare to see something like an 80% win rate in any matchup.
Yeah, this tournament is just so brutal that it's really hard to hit that 50% mark. Both players are ready, though. We're jumping into our game 2 of the evening. ASL Season 20 Group B. It's Bisu versus Speed on Dominator. Let's get it on, guys.
The Bisu fans in the audience. Here he is on screen in the bottom left. Feed in the top left. Here on Dominator. Are we going to see another rush build? You know, two factory has been pretty popular. Also in this matchup here on Dominator. We might see Speed do something like that to try and take control of that high ground here early and get a quick win over Bisu. Yeah. I mean, 2 Factory is not the most popular of builds. However, if you're going to do it on any map, this is one of the only maps where it actually has a pretty strong chance of working out for you. Although Bisu will be aware of that. He'll be calculating that possibility here. And actually building this pylon close to the ramp like this makes me think he wants to choke up this ramp a little bit with the gateway as well. Or will he be building that gateway on the high ground? Can you build a gateway on the high ground with that pylon on the low? I think you can, right? I would notion. I'm not a Protoss player, but Bisu's definitely got this mapped out.
Yeah,
Seems like he can throw that down, and that does create a bit of a nice little wall there at the top of the ramp. Seems like Bisu's probably going to put on some pressure with an early Zealot, try to get a little early damage here against Speed, but I tell you what, Speed's early game control with his SCVs and Marines is very Flash-esque. He is super good at dealing with these type of early aggressive plays.
Yeah, and he's going for a 12 gas here, so nothing too crazy aggressive. Wants to play something a lot more middle range, so wants to aim for that, you know, 229 factory as opposed to say like a 224. kind of timing on that factory to squeeze out a few extra seconds for a Vulture to punish something like a Nexus first. He does anticipate Bisu to play a more mid-range style himself. And yeah, we'll probably see a Zealot in production from Bisu early on here to apply a little bit of pressure to Speed. He hasn't yet built a Sim City in his base. He probably will put the second supply depot to the right of that barracks to create a little bit of a hidey hole to micro in and out of with that Marine. There it goes now. So he will have a lot of options against that early Zealot pressure. So it shouldn't do too much here.
That's a pretty fancy base setup from Bisu, but Speed's got his own Sim City now, and he's going to be prepared for this incoming Zealot. Should have at least a couple of Marines with a third one on the way as the Zealot arrives. And so with this Sim City here and the factory in behind, it's going to be hard for Bisu to get back there and actually slow down this factory.
Yeah, I really like this setup from Speed as well. He's creating a bit of a wall against the cliff face, and just for you guys that are uninitiated, that little gap between the barracks and the supply depot, only a Marine is fitting through there, not the Marines, not the Zealot. So he can micro really heavily against this, going in and out of that gap. You have to be careful though, not to like body block the other Marine going through the gap. You see a lot of players, especially streamers, like try and send Marines through the gap, and they both try and come from opposite angles and block each other from getting through that narrow corridor, which happens a lot. So you have to really manually control those Marines when you do slip inside.
It's a bit of a Three Stooges situation for sure, and it can result in some pretty sad endings here for the Terran player. Now the Dragoon is already here. Bisu's already shown some pretty slick maneuvers trying to block the Marines going down the ramp with the probe, getting 3 Marines here already, and now there's not enough DPS to actually hold back this Dragoon. Not starting the bunker quickly enough. Speed actually is going to take a pretty serious deficit here, and yeah, I mean, Bisu has to back up with the 3 SCVs repairing that, but he can come right back in as soon as the second Dragoon arrives and start to deal even more damage here to Speed, who's trying to get this CC up. Yeah, too greedy here. Speed is taking so much damage now.
Wow, I mean, this Vulture's great at shaving off the shields off these Dragoons. They do 20 damage to the shields, but hardly any damage to the hull. Only like tickling those Dragoons with a natural 1 armor. Great micro from Bisu. Both of these Dragoons are on low HP though, so he wants to just recharge a tiny bit of those shield HP so that he can then go back in for a little bit of skirmishing. He knows that there's also probably a tank popping out soon. But the fact that he killed that many Marines and Vultures and denied the CC going up for so long, Bisu in a phenomenally strong position despite the supplies not seeming to indicate so.
Yeah, I mean, Speed hasn't been slowed down with the timing of the CC at the very least, but I mean, losing these SCVs and so many Marines early, it really hurts the position. Speed's going to try to make up for that by just being even more greedy, neglecting to build a bunker at all here. Look, he's just standing on the high ground with the tank and a few Marines, and he's going to try and make up for that deficit now by just pumping out SCVs and holding the high ground here with the absolute bare minimum. Those 2 Dragoons are very low, so it's unlikely that Bisu tries to challenge this. So I think this is actually a reasonable idea here from Speed to try and make up for that early loss.
Yeah, Bisu was trying some kind of really hyper-aggressive play with a lot of gateways. Maybe he would need that bunker, but as it stands, Bisu's doing a lot more of a mid-range centric style 2-gate robo, basically as middle of the road as you can get. If you want to be super safe, you go for 3-gate robo obs, but you don't need to play that cookie cutter, especially when you've done this much damage with your first 2 Dragoons. But like we're talking about, these 2 Dragoons are softened up on that red HP, so with some good micro, these 3 tanks of Speed would easily target those down and cause a thorn in Bisu's side. That's why both players kind of just sitting back, and yeah, Speed needs to cut a little bit of corners by not making that bunker to play catch up here. He had like 3 SCVs not mining for a long time. He lost the Vultures that would be normally laying down mines out on the map right now. He's lost so much value in his early game potential that he has to kind of sit back for a while.
Yeah, this game is nowhere near over, but Speed definitely feeling the crunch. He's lost a lot of units here, and he's Probably pretty frustrated that those two Dragoons didn't end up dying on such low HP. Ooh, a really greedy third base here from Bisu. He drops that way before 6 minutes. I actually didn't see the total health on that, so I didn't get to see exactly when that was thrown down, but I think it's pretty darn greedy here for Bisu, and Speed is moving into a great spot. If he takes this high ground and finishes up the siege mode upgrade right as he arrives here, this could be huge for Speed. Can he actually get the kill on this Nexus?
I don't think it's too greedy. It's like a little bit on the greedy side, but not maybe as greedy as it first seemed. But I mean, this high ground position is really strong for Speed. He's laying down mines in the wake of these tanks. Really difficult for Bisu to attack up here into this position. And now trying to thread the needle with some vultures in the natural. Bisu, though, blocking that up adequately. Pushes forward with a Dragoon, drags a mine into those vultures as well. So these tanks are pretty naked right now in terms of support. Needs to wait for more vultures to arrive. He can't really surge forward beyond this pizza slice down here, but he's more than capable of maybe taking out or at least forcing a cancel onto this Nexus here. That's a great tactical play from Speed, and that's more than making up for that early game deficit, Saiyan.
Yeah, this is massive. He's even going to get the siege mode finished up, so very difficult to break this. Bisu might want to go for a counterattack, maybe try to catch these tanks on the way home, but he's being a little bit slow to move forward here, being very careful. Looks like he'll probably kill the one tank, but it's going to be hard to do much more than that. The rest of the tanks are already almost back home.
Yeah, I mean, he's trying to be a little bit sneaky again, slipping around with these vultures. He's gonna hop over the vulture, can body block that Dragoon, but luckily Bisu target fired down that mine adequately enough that that's not really going to be a problem. Finally has some Reavers out as well to scoop up in that shuttle. These will technically be able to provide some harassment here, but their main job is just to slow down Speed and stop Speed from just getting away with needless aggression. Bisu trying to play catch up now by throwing down that third base yet again, but it's way behind schedule than he originally intended. So Speed feeling a lot more comfortable about sitting back right now. He's gone straight into 3 factory to be more pressure centric in this early game phase, and will probably go all the way up into 5 factories now, making sure there's enough meat on the bone for Bisu to chew through, that he can either be aggressive or take his own third easily.
Bisu coming in with that shuttle Reaver. Does take one initial shot, one initial hit from that high ground tank. Might be able to pick off this missile turret, but we've got Goliaths here now. That anti-air going to work against Bisu and put a clock on this play. Dropping in the mineral line. Can he fire over the mineral patches here? Oh, looks like this is going to die. No, it makes it through. Oh, huge hit there on the mineral line. Really looked like that was going to get stuck, but Bisu manages to get huge damage, actually killing a lot of SCVs. So many were stacked up there.
Yeah, the rule of thumb with Reavers and going through minerals, as long as the Reaver's touching the mineral patch when it shoots, it's more likely to go around or through the minerals to find connections. And he didn't get lucky with the Scarab going through the minerals, but it helps it thread through those supply depots to accomplish its goal regardless. It takes 4 seconds for that to dud out. So you really have to know your stuff with Reavers and the regions of the map. Ooh, does manage to use that Reaver as well as a mine-sweeping device. Very high-level stuff here we're seeing. Yeah, basically the Reaver's range is the most strangest thing in StarCraft. It's not based on a hardwired range. It's based on segments of the... Oh, he loses the shuttle and the Reaver, those Saiyan. Those Hellfire missiles of the Karen boosted Goliaths taking that down. That's bad news bears for Bisu. He needs those units desperately to slow down any advances of the terrain, as well as apply pressure to make it difficult for him to be confident in taking early bases like this third we see now coming up at this 1 o'clock position.
Yeah, that was a really good move by Speed, coming out to soak the first Reaver hit with the Vulture and then bringing the Goliaths up there to get that damage done. Really did need that Reaver to be able to slow down the incoming push, because he's double expanded behind this. After losing the Nexus, it makes sense to quickly throw down those 2 Nexi, but you need to keep that Reaver alive so that the Terran can't immediately push you. And Speed, luckily for Bisu, he's taking his own third base, but he still could try for a push here. It's just a little bit more risky. He's not going to have quite as many units as he otherwise would.
Yeah, and Bisu's probably not too happy about the fact that he has to expand to 9 o'clock, which is, towards the Terran player. That'll be easier if Speed wants to. He has 2 wing conditions now. He can push to the center of the board and lay siege to this mineral only and choke up the Protoss forces with that great geometry that he could funnel all those units into, like we're seeing on screen now. Or he could come down on these pizza slices and tackle this 9 o'clock position while semi-containing the rally point of Bisu. There's options open for him now to be aggressive if he so desires, but he might be feeling comfortable enough about his position that he actually just wants to power up on these 3 bases, maybe take this mineral only before he starts to move out. He wants to probably get all the way up into like 7 factory production with 2-1 almost about to finish before he thinks about moving out.
Yeah, he's even setting up a bunch of mines here in the main. He's aware of Bisu's tendencies, and indeed, Bisu is going to go for a big drop here. Try to get some big damage with triple shuttle. That's such a big commitment. If this doesn't do damage, a counterattack would be extremely hard to hold. Here comes the storms. Big storms on a lot of these SCVs, but good dodging from Speed negates the worst of the damage here, and looks like those shuttles will end up going down. Does he have a scan for this? Okay, he does get the scan off, but he loses a tank to that DT. Now might be the time to start a counterattack. Bisu's going to take a 4th base here, but throwing away that many shuttle, 5th base, excuse me. Losing that many shuttles, you're not going to have a lot to shut down this army of Speed.
I mean, it's absolutely crazy what we're seeing. And to Bisu's credit, he's got double forge spinning away as well, so he's trying to stay ahead of that upgrade curve as much as he can. He probably is aware that Speed will be a little bit slow in that 2-1 timing than usual. Maybe that'll help him trade off with Speed throughout the rest of this game. He's going to try and run it down now with some Zealots. I think he's kind of hesitating about how deep he wants to go first, sizing up Speed a little bit before charging in with more Zealots, starting to blanket down storms onto that Terran line. There's a lot of tanks though in reserve waiting for Bisu to go for a play like this. Bisu's going to have to start pulling out as soon as those Zealots start to dry up. That's basically Protoss 101. Run in like this, kill as much as you can, and as soon as the Zealots are about to all die, you pull your Dragoons out and try to keep them in reserve so you don't have to keep replacing them.
I'm really surprised that Bisu wanted to do an attack like that. I mean, you want to keep the game scrappy when you're going for this type of play, but diving into the natural like this, I wasn't expecting Bisu to try something this crazy while he's taking his 5th base, and right after he lost all those shuttles. He's not got that utility to try and lift those units into the right positions to bomb the tanks and keep the High Templar alive, drop them out, and get those storms. He's bringing up another shuttle. It's just arrived, and it looks like he's ready to go again here. So he's just going to dive in, I think.
Well, he's just going to bomb some tanks, it looks like. Dragon Mine there. Ooh, nicely done. Killing 2 tanks. Then, yeah, like you're right, saying he wants to go for round 2, and Speed thinks he wants to do that as well. Look at how these tanks are positioned. He's expecting this from Bisu. Either way, here comes some massive Psionic Storms as well to blanket yet again on those Terran metal in the front line, picking off as many of those gas tank units to try and cripple the pushing power of this Terran and keep him locked on 3 bases for as long as possible. But Speed, I think, will have enough of this. He's going to start leapfrogging forward with some turrets and will eventually either take this base in the top right pocket or this mineral only, so he can start pushing down on this vertical axis. He's got a couple of raiding party vultures that will be trying to get down into the 6 o'clock position. Bisu, though, being very active with these Dragoons, will intercept and prevent any kind of harassment to his economy lines.
Yeah, he's managing to push away the vultures on the right-hand side of the map and keep that clear of mines. Coming forward again with the shuttle. This has got to be a storm drop. He's looking towards that top right base, and it looks like he'll get in here, waiting right now. Speed is waiting for the... Oh, whoa. That was a bit of a wild storm there, dropping it on the... science facility. Seems like a misclick from Bisu. He was trying to drop out the High Templar when the like between the tanks firing there, because you could see that Speed was waiting for that to try and target it down the moment it appeared. And so he wasn't quite able to get that done, but oh my god, nice pickup there. Very nice pickup from Speed to keep that tank alive, and he will get the vultures up here as well. Not a lot of damage so far on the probes, but he kills that Dragoon. Little consolation prize there for Speed, and he will force some units back here, even some cannons in the mineral line to try and deal with this.
Yeah, this is good indirect damage from Speed, because, I mean, this shuttle just existing in this dead space over the natural expansion of Bisu means he'll be a little bit hesitant to commit all of his forces out on the map, almost losing this shuttle. He feels like he needs to dive in now. Good firing from those tanks, killing the Templar. He should have dropped the Zealot first. A little bit of an uncharacteristic mistake. He just unloaded onto his own shuttle and let the units come out in a line, but the High Templar was loaded up first rather than second, so the Zealot came out after the High Templar, and the High Templar bit the dust quickly there. Wasn't able to get another storm off, but he's expanding yet again. He does actually kill this dropship before the vultures get out. Tank is also going to be eliminated without really accomplishing much. Bisu is continuing to expand. Finally, Speed taking this mineral only as well. We got a 4-base Terran going up against a 6-base Protoss. We've got a real PvT on our hands, Saiyan.
+2 is done here for the Terrans, and Speed has a very nice setup. Lots of mines here at the front. Ooh, running that Zealot in right as the vultures are placing mines. Almost getting a massive detonation there. But pushing forward with this many Dragoons and not very many Zealots is a recipe for disaster. These are some good bombs here and a pretty good set of storms as well. But you can see a lot of Dragoons are starting to fall. And the vultures can start to run forward here. Is Bisu going to be able to take this high ground? If Speed cedes this to Bisu, you can start to lay down storms on top of that mineral line. And indeed, Bisu going to hold that position, but can't quite get close enough to deal that economic damage.
Yes, Speed is doing a great job of holding the line against Bisu. Bisu's trying to trade off enough tanks that he can just start to out-muscle and run over Speed with the pure economic might of his production lines. But currently even supplies. He's going in for round 7 of trading with Speed on these front lines. Speed shuttles bombing Zealots onto those tanks, being pretty successful. That's a pretty massive storm, killing tanks and SCVs alike. Looks like Bisu has just barely enough to do damage to the economy of Speed, but not enough to push all the way deep towards that rally point location. Scooping up the High Templars into the safety of that shuttle is a bit of a consolation prize here, but Bisu still looking to take more and more bases while just firing on all cylinders with these gateways. Finally, Speed has identified that he can't just maintain the same game position. He's taking a 5th base now in that top right. We could see a crazy game from this position, Sam.
Speed ahead in supply after that last fight. They were dead even going into that attack from Bisu, but definitely Speed coming out a bit ahead here as he expands over into that top right. He's going to continue to grow and keep sending out vultures on this axis. If Bisu just keeps ramming it down like this, I think the trades are going to get worse and worse as those additional upgrades come into play.
Oh, absolutely. This is getting worse and worse for Bisu. I mean, but Speed still has to do something. He can't just sit back and chill. Like, Bisu will run away with this game. The more bases he gets online, the more gateways he gets online, or what have you. He could even do a very late game carrier switch. We see that a lot from Protoss players. They'll be quietly getting upgrades on that cybernetics core. We haven't yet got a shot on that main base to see if Bisu's doing that. This vultures, though, with 2-2 upgrades, have more than enough firing power on those fragmentation grenades to not only rip through the pros, but also the cannons now as well. Another storm drop coming at this 4th base location in the top right. Beautiful storms on those tanks, glitching out and not able to get away from that splash damage. It's 110 damage over 2.5 seconds, so unless you can get out from under it quickly enough, it really does start to stack up and cripple the Terran.
Oh my gosh, she's almost gonna kill the CC. 200 HP on that. Really does want to save it if he can. Hasn't brought any tanks down here, and Dragoons are moving that direction, so he may actually lose that CC, which would be a pretty big blow here for Speed. He's actually not repairing that. Oh my gosh. Hopefully that doesn't burn down.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't burn down as well, but I think Speed might be in a little bit of trouble. If Bisu plays his cards right here, he should be able to shut down Speed. He's pushing vertically up into this pizza slice. He knows this is the point of contention right now. Preemptive D-Matrix comes out onto that frontal tank. There is no vultures, though, to screen and soak up the few Zealots that are on top of those tanks. He's eviscerating that tank line with those phase disruption shots. There are some reinforcements coming for Speed, but there so is for Bisu. There's a flood of Zealots joining the party now. He's going to get up here in his top right, kill this CC, as well as some of these SCV. Speed in a lot of trouble now. Supplies are plummeted. 110 supply to 175 of Bisu. I think Bisu's starting to do it, saying he's got this other base at the 3 o'clock also coming out, and Speed has no answers to this expansion warpath of Bisu.
My goodness, that turned pretty quickly. Suddenly, Bisu taking a massive advantage in this game. Maybe it was the vultures that went down to bottom right. All of them got caught. It was a huge round of vultures that got caught down there, and he just didn't have the fodder to be able to defend that army that was coming over to defend the fifth base. Oh, great mine there, getting rid of 2 of those storms. He is going to be able to deal with this other High Templar as well. So the High Templar storm drops not doing too much. Speed still has a pretty good economy, but he's been rattled here in this game so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if Speed does win this game, it's going to be like 10, 20 minutes in the making as a bare minimum. You can see the upgrades now, 3, 2, 1 for Bisu versus the 3, 2 of Speed. It technically is Terran favored, but the reality is that usually the Protoss sacrifices a little bit of their upgrades to make up for it with production, and Bisu hasn't done that here. He's kind of kept on curve with the upgrades of Speed all game long, making sure that he has enough trading power to whittle down Speed slowly but surely over the course of this game, and now we're starting to see the efforts of Bisu finally come to full fruition. He's got such punching power with these Protoss units. 3 armor has just now finished as well, and he's going to start ramming it down on this mineral-only location. First, trying to secure this high ground. There's a lot of turrets here to help ward off these speed shuttles that are bombing onto these siege tanks, but not quickly enough for High Templars to pounce out and lay down some very powerful psionic storms, killing tanks and SCVs alike yet again.
Well, there was some pretty good snipes there. Not quite enough mines in the front for Speed, but he hangs on with a pretty reasonable supply. I think he was at about 130 right before that fight, and Bisu was sitting at 200. So that's borderline death for the Terror player. Very hard to hold on to a 200 against a 200 supply army with just that 130. He's at 116 now and starting to push out, but Bisu's going to max out very quickly. He's got to be careful here not to get too eager to do any counter damage. He is going to have to, like you said, take this into a very long game if he wants to end up winning.
Absolutely. He's consolidated the majority of his forces on this left-hand pizza slice, defending his mineral only. He needs to put the pressure back onto Bisu with these vulture raiding parties to kind of get some breathing room and some oxygen back for himself, so he can also start to think about how he's going to take an additional mining base. He could take this base in the top left pocket and kind of defend his mineral only and this gas expansion towards Bisu on the left simultaneously. There's not really that many easy options for Speed. He needs to start winning some trades to really have the value available to take more bases. He's scanning the main base now, seeing how many gateways there are. Is the core spinning? Is there anything else I need to be worried about? There's a lot of times that Protoss players will be switching into carriers around about now, so you want to make sure that core's not spinning or anything like that, or no Stargates. We got another massive storm drop from Bisu at this 1 o'clock position. Good evacuation orders, though, from Speed, lifting the CC, preventing total disaster, but this is more damage than can be weathered by Speed. This is really starting to stack up. The game has been on a tipping point at this expansion for so long. Not only SCVs going down here, but so many units are traded off every time Bisu does this, and this has been the main catalyst in Speed's downfall.
Yeah, Speed has never really hit a high supply in this game. He's been constantly dropped down. I think the peak was at about 150, and Bisu has just been maxing out and hitting him again and again and again, and able to trade at least, if not efficiently, at least efficiently enough to keep Speed down, to keep Speed back. And now the trades are probably going to start getting a lot worse here. At 3-3, Speed should be able to blow up these armies pretty efficiently, but the economy is so much better. He can definitely remax way faster than Speed. And oh my god! 14 kill High Templar.
Are you kidding me, Saiyan? How does this guy do it? Speed should have consolidated so much more defenses to this drop harass in the top right. If only he had defended this gas expansion up here a little bit better, this game would look a lot different. He's floating his natural command center down, trying to take this pocket expansion in the top left we were talking about just a moment ago. But look at the main standing army for Bisu streaming in here to this top right position with so much infantry and storm support, preemptive D-Matrix on that frontal tank, but these tanks in the back line pretty stacked up, so Bisu is getting some pretty cost-efficient deals. It seems like the market's having a sale right now, Saiyan, because there's a lot of 2-for-1, 3-for-1 deals going on that Bisu is snacking up on like a happy shopper.
Yeah, these storms have been fantastic, and this base is going to get shut down. Speed getting shut out of this game on 77 supply. There's no chance of a comeback, and GG is called. Bisu going to go forward to the winner's match.
Wow, I told you, Saiyan. I told you Bisu was going to be slapping down Speed, and we are going to be seeing Bisu versus TY in that winner's match. My mind is going crazy. I don't think TY has a strong chance of winning, but can you imagine how crazy it would be if somehow TY can take down Bisu, force Bisu into the finals match, and TY is the first out of the group 2-0. I would be doing mental backflips, saying I'd be so stoked.
What a shame that Speed opened with that amount of greed, allowed Bisu to kill so many of his early game units. We could see, how strong he was able to get into this late game and even shut down the third base of Bisu, but those early game advantages helped Bisu to hit those timings to smash through as Speed was getting underway, as he was really starting to ramp up there. You're right, Xun. Yeah. Bisu goes forward, and Speed going to go to the loser's match, but he is not out yet. There's still a chance for him to make it through into the round of 16.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, how good is it that Bisu came back strong in that game? Yes, he had that little bit of advantage of those 2 Dragoons in the early game, but he did lose his fast third base Nexus as well, Saiyan. So, yeah, I would say that was a pretty comfortable game for Speed going forward, and Bisu still managed to isolate those win conditions and expand rapidly. A real treat to behold. I'm glad we're seeing some great TVPs today.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting match between TY and Bisu coming up here, guys. What's your prediction? Who goes out first in this group? Is it going to be TY or Bisu? I mean, you gotta give Bisu his due. I mean, this guy's been in the ASL so many seasons, and he is looking fantastic.
My brain says Bisu. My heart says, please, TY, somehow do the impossible and go out 2-0 here. He shouldn't, obviously. I think Bisu more than capable of slapping down TY in a similar fashion as he did Speed, but who knows? Maybe Baby will play out of his mind and maybe catch Bisu with a really, isolated timing attack that Bisu's not quite prepared for. Anything is possible in a best of one of StarCraft. Pretty much all of these guys are capable in a single match of taking down just about anyone, at least on a good day. So we'll have to wait and see, Sam.
Well, whatever happens with TY, I hope he doesn't get overconfident in the early game and try to cut too many corners. We're going to have that winner's match on one of these very interesting maps. For now, we're just going to the sponsored segment. Google Play is sponsoring the ASL this season. It's a big deal, guys, that we're getting some amazing sponsors for this amazing tournament.
Oh, yeah. I mean, how crazy is it? Like, we were talking about the sponsors from the last tournament like it was such a big deal, and now we've got Google and Razer Come on. We're definitely in the golden era that's now being ushered in modern day StarCraft, guys. Be happy, because there's a lot to look forward to the future. I think that's the thing to life saying. You're only really getting old if you start looking back on your life rather than looking ahead to the future. And it does seem like in StarCraft here, we're still looking forward to the stars and the stars that will be in the future tournaments, new champions being sired, and new great golden eras ushering in such a spectacular feast of games to just ravage and get our eyes absolutely gouged out by how crazy some of these games are. I can't believe we've had this great of a start to the season already in just like 2 groups.
Well, looking forward to the winners match, guys. We've got Screaming Sea, Litmus, and Knockout. 2 of those maps are going to be vetoed here, one by either player, and we're going to get the other. Probably it's going to be Knockout, most likely neither player wanting to play on Screaming Sea or Litmus, but perhaps there's something that Bisu's worked out on one of those 2 maps. I imagine we're going to see Screaming Sea get vetoed out immediately. And then, maybe Litmus. Litmus is such an interesting map, guys. I'm really excited to see some games on this. We haven't seen it yet, but it's got some very funky mixture of some older maps that we had in the pool previously.
Yeah, I would say Litmus is our Frankenstein map, where it's kind of like a blend of Optimizer, Neo Dark Origin, and maps like Blitz X or Blitz Y, as you may know it by. Honestly, kind of a crazy map. Does have those 2 gases like in Optimizer. However, both of them are only on 3,000 gas apiece. But guys, we're going to be going to a little bit of a break here. Go to the bathroom, grab some popcorn, get a beer, crack it open, whatever you need to do, whatever's your poison. Go and get your tipple of choice and join us back here in the next match here of the Season 20 Group B ASL. It's absolutely kicking off already, and I hope this winners match is going to be just as special, if not more special, than that last match we just got to witness.
Okay, guys, back in the studio. Got the crowd here. Bisu on stage in the winner's match, and his opponent TY, aka Baby, ready to fight it out here in the best of one. Yes, best of ones here in the 2024.
Yeah.
It's pretty rough, honestly. I wish we could get some best of threes to just get a little bit more action out of these players, but you only get one shot here. Oh, we're going to Litmus.
Oh, nice.
That's very exciting. As you guys can see, a little bit of Dark Origin vibes here. There's a double ramp coming down from the natural into the natural, and then there's that back lane. There is a stasis cell with a mineral patch back there along that lane, and then there's a base on high ground way over on the far left. There are so many lanes going through the middle of this map. It's crazy. There's like high ground, low ground, and then super high ground there way over on the left-hand side. We've also got double gases in the main. Each gas has just 3,000 minerals apiece, so they're very light on that gas. And if you're not used to it, you might end up just mining out super quick and then forget to switch over to that other gas. In this matchup, it's not typical to take those two gases really early on.
Right. I think this will be a very difficult map for TY to figure out how to safely take a third base. So a two-base timing attack is exceedingly likely here unless he tries to knock out the back stasis chambers and try and expand horizontally that way, all the other side of the map. But it's going to be hard to split his army up to defend both locations like that. So I'm expecting some kind of two-base timing out of TY here, warming his hands up with a heat pack. That's something we haven't seen a whole lot of since the Kesper era. Definitely TY was a part of that though, and definitely probably more comfortable in doing that as part of his ritual like he did back then to help him not only get his hands ready but get his mind in a similar kind of focused state that he needs to be. Both players are ready though, guys. ASL Season 20 winners match, TY versus Bisu, and the map is gonna be Litmus. Let's get it on.
Bisu spawning over here in the top right. TY down in the bottom right. Two-player map. One of the big effects of this double gas here in the main, especially on a two-player map, is that it's really the only two-player map where you can't steal the gas as the Protoss player. So that actually changes the matchup quite a bit.
It's actually a really good point, Saiyan. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of 1v1 maps where essentially 99% of the game's Protoss players are going to steal your gas. The question is, do they steal your gas and go Nexus first or do something else? Maps like Eclipse, the gas steal into Nexus first, so prevalent and common. Can't go for that here, though. And pretty much both gas providing the same yield here, 3,000 apiece. So it's not like you can just go in there and steal the gas with the higher yield or something. Yeah, pretty much we're not going to be seeing any kind of gas steal shenanigans, which I think is even more likely going to be spelling some kind of two-base timing from TY as a result.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting idea. We had this double gas before in Optimizer, but that was a four-player map. Not typical for stealing gas anyway on a four-player map, but it's an interesting idea that the map makers are working with. Not adding a lot of gas, but giving the option of taking two gases and kind of getting rid of the option for the Protoss player to steal a gas. Yeah, I don't think we're going to see either player take this second gas really early on, but we'll see if either player remembers to switch over, because these gases do run out exceedingly quick, and it's at a weird timing that you're just not used to. If you've been playing this game for a long time, and you just you kind of have a feeling, you kind of know when your gas is going to start running out, but on this map, it's going to be way ahead of that time.
Oh, absolutely. Saying they basically mine out like 5 minutes, or a bit more than that, quicker than usual. So players might not be as dialed into when to replace those. Let's have to see what TY wants to go for this game. You've got a 12 gas, so probably just a 228, 229 factory like we've seen from him on Dominator as well. in that TVT matchup. Don't expect anything too crazy for him. His mineral optimizations are really good. Like, he had the money to throw down the factory at like 226, saying, like, do you know how hard it is to get the money to do that?
There's very few players who can hit that consistently. I think Sharp, one of those players who's very good at hitting that very fast factory timing. Speed, I would say, also extremely good at hitting those optimizations, but TY just showing his class here. Even though he hasn't been in the StarCraft 1 scene or back in the StarCraft 1 scene for very long, his work ethic is starting to show through, man. He's really grinding out games and practicing very hard, you can tell.
Yeah, denying Bisu getting the chase micro on that SCV too much as well. Here comes the Zealot. There's 3 Marines waiting for it, though, so it won't really accomplish too much. 3 Marines can pretty effectively bully the Zealot out of the base in this early game phase, so BC won't be able to accomplish too much of that, but we'll be able to maybe poke in here with some additional units once they arrive. Maybe wants to come down into his natural expansion as early as possible to establish a bunker, and Bisu will wait for the Dragoon to come forward so he can now start to challenge that, put a little bit of phase disruption shots onto those Marines while the Zealot tries to get some punch combinations on that SCV. Not quite picking it off, though. Good pullback from TY, and that Vulture is not long for this world, saying he knows he can chase this down. He's figured out the timings enough that he's safe to come out just a little bit here to challenge that. He knows that the other Dragoon is chasing the SCVs, so these Marines are pretty much safe to chill for just a little bit here.
Yeah, not getting greedy and having that bunker down. Also, the target fire was fantastic there from TY. Switching over to the Zealot.
Yeah.
Putting on some damage to the Dragoon initially, and then switching to the Zealot and just powering it down as quickly as possible, keeping that SCV alive. And now he's got a much better position than Speed in that last game. He's got his Vultures out on the map, threatening, and these will be able to lay down mines here coming up shortly.
He's playing at almost 500 APM. This guy is just dancing across the keyboard like 2 giant spiders with skinny legs. It's kind of crazy that this guy is still able to play at this level after all this time. I guess StarCraft 2 didn't slow him down in the slightest, and he played this game enough in his childhood that it's pretty much ingrained into him. He's like Neo at the end of the first Matrix film, where he can just see the code and jump into your body and make you explode, Sam.
Yeah, that's a pretty serious 500. Yeah, he's hitting 500 APM. He is blazingly fast. Generally, StarCraft 2 kind of accepted as a faster game, but even with the slowness of StarCraft 1, you can definitely make use of that 500 APM. There's so many little things that you can be doing that can add up to big advantages if you're actually capable of hitting all of those beats and spamming out as much actions as TY is doing right now. He's gonna stay up around that 500 APM for the time being, but it's very hard for basically anyone on planet Earth to stay at 500 throughout the entirety of a game. So we'll see if that starts to drop as the game progresses.
It's a little bit easier to have a higher APM in StarCraft 2 because you can have all of your buildings hotkeyed on the same hotkey, and say if you just hold down the D key or whatever to make Marines, each one of those Marines that get produced from you just holding down a key counts as APM. Similar in StarCraft 1 here, you could hold down your hotkeys on your Nexus or whatever and have the APM shoot up, but these players haven't got time to do that. You would miss too many beats in what else you need to do, and there's also no automation, in Brood War, like your SCVs automatically mining those minerals, so every little bit of APM you can muster to quickly task switch and effectively allocate those actions to keeping your economy flowing and your unit production cycling is a big deal. This Observer's not actually seeing these additional Marines till just now. That's a big standing army from TY. I knew he was going to go for some kind of crazy timing here on 2 bases. It's going to be a 4-tank push with so many Marines saying, is that like 9 Marines and SCVs now being pulled? Bisu has a large standing force of Dragoons, but they're on the left-hand side of the map, not actually intercepting this army head-on. He's going to wrap around and counter-attack TY, it looks like here. Kind of a crazy scenario we're going to be having as TY finds the natural expansion of Bisu right as Bisu's running into his unguarded expansion.
Oh my goodness, this is going to be crazy. Just setting up the wall here. Bisu Are we going to completely shut down this attack, or at least slow it down long enough so he can get back home? Oh, a tank! A tank goes down. He's going to continue to add on buildings here. He's just trying to slow this down as much as possible. TY falling apart. TY falling apart here. He's losing all of his tanks, going back to the natural. This was not in the game plan of TY, but Bisu has the perfect counter to what TY is trying to do right now. I can't believe it, Xun. He is being absolutely blown apart here. It's actually Bisu who's Neo, and he's diving into TY's body and absolutely deleting him from existence.
It's crazy how one-sided this is turning out to be. If only TY had maybe kept those tanks in the front line and used them to help chew through this wall of Bisu that's being established, he'd have a more fighting chance. He is technically holding the line here and using SCVs to buffer against those Dragoons. I really wished he kept those tanks in attacking positions and challenged the natural of Bisu with more tanks. Oh, but there's DTs coming out from Bisu. There is no detection up here at all. GG is called, and Bisu is gonna be the first guy breaking out of the group 2-0. But that also means we're gonna be seeing more of TY, as he will be joining us in that final match against Speed.
More TVT, and the people rejoice. It's all TVT from here on out, guys. TY going down to that final match, and we're going to have a TVT in the losers, so it will be just TVT from here on out. But things have been going along at a pretty good pace here. The group with the highest number of Terran players, and we're just blazing through so fast. Kind of counterintuitive to what we would usually expect.
Yeah, I mean, my predictions is that Speed beats JYJ, and then we're going to have TY versus Speed in that final match. We'll have to see if that does come to pass. But look at this soul read from Bisu, just circumnavigating. This is Protoss 101 in general. You never really want to have to directly engage the Terran player, especially with these timing attacks. Running around, cutting off reinforcements, counterattacks are usually the aim of the game. And if only TY didn't send his tanks home, maybe he could have pushed through these walls that were constantly being set up by Bisu quickly enough to not have to worry about those DTs. I doubt it, though. I think either way, TY was pretty much dead here. There's just not any detection to deal with this DT follow-up. So even if he does somehow break through, it's not quite going to be quick enough to stop those DTs from popping out, I think. And Bisu, despite taking more damage potentially, would still close out the game. Just what a great game plan from Bisu, an adjustment to this tactic from TY. I'm sure he had this in his head from the start, that TY was going to attempt something like this due to the nature of the map, and had the perfect counter.
Yeah, this map has more lanes than what the heck is that two-player map? I'm completely blanking. Eclipse, that's the one I'm thinking of. It has more lanes than Eclipse, and you know how difficult it is to initiate a Terran attack when counters are so easy to pull off for the Protoss player on a map like that.
Yeah, I think that is a very Protoss favored map when it comes to PvT, though. I don't think there was many other hopes for TY to go for there that would have been fortuitous for him. I think he kind of felt forced to do a really early timing like that, and it kind of plays into someone like Bisu's hands. He can really nicely line up a counterattack like that if he knows something is going to be coming his way. The observer saw the count of Marines, which definitely indicates an assault, so he can already set up the flank into the natural expansion ahead of time and get there quickly enough that there's no real answer for TY. He can't really hold the line from taking too much damage. He can't get an academy and a comset online to scan for those DTs. He can't get any vultures to the front lines to lay down mines for that either. There's just no real hope of TY making that attack successful after the fact. Just really well played from our champion tier player Bisu here. Definitely in a better form and shape than he was last season. Maybe he can go deep in the tournament this time.
Oh my goodness. I'm just thinking to the about the delay tactics that Speed or excuse me, that Bisu pulled out there, building all of those buildings. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to be so annoyed as TY in a situation like that. Like, okay, more buildings, really? We're still
Right.
building, gateways and forges and everything. Um, TY was so flabbergasted, he let his tanks just walk back into the Dragoons. It's so rare that we see a pro player on a right click just walk tanks into Dragoons like that, but you could tell just how bamboozled TY was by that play. He's a very strong player, but it seems like Bisu, or maybe he's lacking the ability to play on the fly, more of a an orthodox or like a one directional player, not able to make those big
Yeah.
turns when things don't go the way he planned.
I think if he's on the tracks, he's like a freight train, saying, but he
Right.
managed to get derailed by Bisu enough in that game where he just didn't have any ebb and flow to work with. I think it would have been, more fortuitous for him if he just kept those 2 tanks and the Marines he sent back to, just target down those buildings as they were being placed. He would have easily chomped through those walls and put on more pressure to Bisu. He would have at least crippled his economy enough to maybe turn the game around into a comeback slowly but surely. The DTs would have eventually shut him down either way, but if he kills the probes, he kills the Nexus, maybe there's hope for him because he can float his own CC in the natural expansion to the safety of his main and try and hold the ramp with mines and tanks and SCV drills there. And that means we do have some comeback potential if he goes for that. But I think sending the tanks back with a couple Marines to try and help out was definitely a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of mistakes there for TY. I definitely agree with what you said. TY on the rails is extremely scary, but I think Bisu just showed exactly how to deal with him. You gotta throw a curveball, and it seems like he just kind of lets the wheels fall off the moment that he gets kind of thrown into the wind. Bisu didn't do anything totally crazy. We see a lot of counterattacks in this matchup, but TY was not expecting it at all, and he completely didn't know how to respond.
Yeah, guys. I mean, it is what it is. We're going to be seeing more TVT. I was kind of hoping that TY would win, not just because I wanted to see TY win, but also because it means more Protoss versus Terran. But instead, we're going to have a couple of Terran versus Terrans to wrap up the evening. Don't go anywhere, though, guys, because we're going to take a little bit of a break here, but we're going to be jumping back into the action in 2 minutes' time for some absolute insanity in the losers match. TY, he's still going to be waiting in that finals to see if he's going to be facing off against either JYJ or Speed. That's going to be coming up soon.
All right, guys, it's time for the losers match. Speed versus JYJ. Wasn't expecting to see Speed here in the losers match after his performance last season. Absolutely dominant, getting through the round of 24. But here he's got a bit of a slog ahead of him. I think he can make it through, though. His TVT is absolutely insane. JYJ, the former ASL champion, not sure if he's still got it. And although he did go through it and get that ASL championship on the back of his TVT versus mine, that was a long time ago. And this is not the same JYJ, and this is not the same game. StarCraft has evolved, and Speed is that new wave of Terran. It's a completely different game. It's a completely different matchup. In the modern era, it's so much faster, it's so much more technical, and Speed is a monster when it comes to this era of TVT.
Absolutely. I don't think he's quite as scary as he was in that last season, ASL 19, but I think he's definitely more than formidable enough to take on someone like JYJ. Seems like JYJ just gathering himself here for a few moments before the game is about to go live. I'm really hoping that Speed goes through and then we get Speed versus TY in the finals. I think that'll be a great TVT to wrap up the group with both players starting to get ready now, as it won't be long until we hop into that game. I mean, am I crazy, or does JYJ look like a little bit depleted or something? Like, he looks a little bit under the weather, like he's not been getting much sleep or something. But never mind, guys, because we're going to be jumping right into this game. We are ready. The ASL Season 20 losers match between JYJ and Speed. Let's get it started, guys. The map's going to be litmus.
All right, it's time. JYJ down in the bottom right. Speed in the top right. Litmus once again. Not sure how this map plays in TVT. I really haven't seen much TVT on this map. I don't know if I've even seen a single game, to be honest, on Litmus so far. I've played a lot of ZVZ here. And I tell you, it really is a wacky map for ZVZ. Having that double gas there changes things quite a bit. But I don't know how it plays in TVT.
Yeah, we did see a couple of games that were not TVTs on this map, right? Like in the KCM and what have you. But we haven't seen a single TVT, I don't think, yet on this map. So we'll be curious to see. Oh, look, I actually saw an SCV from JYJ just glitching out there. And he does look a little bit under the weather on that camera. I'm not sure if he's just sick or something. Maybe he's got the flu or a cold. Usually in Korean culture, they'll have some kind of mask on if they do have some kind of illness, just out of like respect and, you know, kindness to the community kind of thing. But he hasn't got a mask on. So I'm wondering what's going on. He doesn't look quite his usual self. And he just uncharacteristically had some issues getting his SCV to mine the way he wanted it to. So that could be the start of something tragic for this player here.
Yeah, it's kind of uncharacteristic to see JYJ without a mask in general. He used to always wear the same sort of mask during all of these events, in-person live events like the ASL. He was constantly wearing that mask, but here he's opted not to wear it, and he's looking a little bit ill. I definitely agree with you, maybe a bit pale, and he was kind of shaking around in his chair, kind of throwing his head to the side as the game was getting underway. Hopefully he's not feeling too nervous here or, you know, worried about this performance, because Speed will absolutely take advantage of any bit of slack that you give him. He is such a killer in this matchup, and JYJ has to be on point.
Yeah, Speed is locked in. Like, he's almost got like an eyes glazed over kind of look, like he's been training for 14 hours straight and he's ready to train for another 14. Whereas JYJ looks like he's about to fall over. I'm really worried for him, actually. He does not look well at all. He's coughing occasionally. He looks very sickly on that camera. I hope he's going to be feeling better soon, but I do worry for him in this game against Speed. He's such a strong player that even a tiny advantage of you not quite playing at 100% will be exploited, like you so astutely pointed out. Yeah, I just hope that JYJ can give us a good game no matter what happens.
Ooh, Speed just barely gets out with this SCV. You've got to be kidding me. What, 5 HP on that? 1 HP. Oh my goodness. It will escape here. The SCV of JYJ looking for that final blow. He wants to bump bellies here and try to get that kill, but now Speed has gotten ahead, and there's not really a good way to shut that down, actually finish that off. And so, bit of a momentum here for Speed as he gets that SCV back home. CC on either side here off of 1 factory. No 2 factory shenanigans to start this off.
Yeah, pretty mirrored builds. Only 1 on gas from either side as well. So yeah, pretty much identical from both players here. He will be losing this scout though. Does see the CC. So actually that scout was really worth it for JYJ. Confirming the CC as well from Speed will put his mind at ease. You know, we can skip over a bunker now and just play, you know, as min-maxy as he possibly can. These 2 Marines do put a fair amount of damage onto this barracks. It's not a huge deal, but it means it's a limited amount of time that it can actually scout for. And if you're a little bit careless with it, if you... Ooh, a bit of a tactical play, actually. Speed trying to get on top of these vultures does snag one. JYJ in a lot of trouble now, being punished for trying to put damage down onto that barracks, being a little bit distracted maybe, and paying the price for his Speed just on top of things, getting 1 vulture kill already. And it is going to be a vulture war centric play from JYJ with that 3rd factory coming down. Oh my gosh, saying we're finally going to see a vulture war scenario from both sides, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty good move. You can come forward and just snipe the 2 Marines, then the barracks just lives forever and you get full scouting information. But JYJ sacrificing 1 vulture there because Speed was so on top of things. That's not going to work out well for him. And oh my god, a bad rally. Oh no, dude. This is going to get really bad for JYJ. Going to target down a bunch of vultures and the 2 Marines as well. Can he get the moving shot? No, not going to get the moving shot either. JYJ having a hard time here. Okay, a little bit of luck there as the vulture tries to return home. It gets stuck on the terrain and he gets another kill. Speed throwing away a little bit of his advantage there, but still, that is rough from JYJ. Losing a vulture, 2 vultures nearly for free. Definitely showing some signs here.
I don't think that was actually the terrain. I think that was a pathing issue. I think he right-clicked the vultures back, but the problem is that sometimes units like don't have the most optimal pathing in Brood War, and they won't actually pick the shortest distance from point A to B. In most cases, they'll like follow a train of what the previous unit is on, and sometimes you have to manually control the units to slide across the hex grid in direct vertical or horizontal patterns as you see fit. And because Speed didn't manually target that vulture to run directly north of his position, it slid over to the left a little bit on that diagonal axis and allowed JYJ to catch up ever so slightly to get those moving shots.
4th factory coming up here for Speed. He did make a couple of tanks here, but with this 4th factory, I'm sensing even more vultures are going to be coming out from him. Just 3 factories on the side of JYJ, and he may be looking to get into some additional tanks after these initial 2. Let's see how Speed fares here. He's 4 supply ahead, probably 1 or 2 vultures up. Actually, it looks like JYJ has that advantage, and he's going to target down a tank way faster than Speed. Speed taking a bit of a rough trade here. Target fire onto the tank here on either side, but JYJ actually gets both of those kills. Huge advantage to him now.
Yeah, that's really well done from JYJ. The target firing and engagement was almost perfect. Speed in a little bit of trouble. He doesn't have a tank to come out and buffer against this. He might need a mine connection to make this efficient, and he can't do that. He's gone for just speed upgrade alone. Okay, finally, JYJ's the one to start laying down mines. I don't think Speed has that mine upgrade yet, and he's going to apply a lot of pressure. Even repairing that tank with 1 single SCV, getting a little bit more extra value. Speed going for the surround, trying to pincer these vultures while he can. SCV is also coming in to help out, bumping bellies with those vultures to try and put some extra DPS with those fusion precision cutters, but unfortunately those mines can't help out against Speed. With these SCVs and vultures are technically glider units and don't actually connect with the ground. Speed somehow eventually turns that around though, but JYJ did kill a lot of the forces of Speed in that trade, but I think Speed made up the deficit.
Very hard to tell exactly where both the players are at. The additional rallies, the closeness of the rallies here for Speed helped to save him here, but JYJ was dealing some damage, killing off some SCVs and hurting that economy. Will Speed be able to keep up in this vulture war? Or are we going to have to see him transition? It seems like he wants to come across the map now for a bit of counterplay. Can he actually win this fight with the closer rallies? I think JYJ's got this, especially having some SCVs in the mix as well to deal that little bit of extra damage. Oh, it's so close. JYJ not doing any repairing here on the vultures, and actually Speed with better micro in general, target fire or something, just managing to push through. He's just going to go for the kill now, getting on top of these vultures, the last few here, targeting them down one by one, rallying everything across the map and killing off more and more vultures. SCVs are going to start to fall here pretty soon as JYJ desperately tries to hold on.
Yeah, these vulture war situations are so micro intensive from both sides. Repairs coming out from JYJ to try and hold the line. There is technically a superior position for JYJ to exploit with that defender's advantage, but Speed has been coming in and doing a pretty good job of trading off the majority of those vultures. Luckily, JYJ got the exit kill on that vulture to tie things up. And look at this, Speed actually landed the barracks in the main base to body block vultures from getting out on the rally point easily, as well as made a single Marine that has 3 kills. Are you kidding me? 3 kills of a Marine that was made inside the base of JYJ, Sam.
Wow, that's crazy. Hard to believe that he got that much damage with just that single Marine, but JYJ's on the warpath. He wants blood here. He's coming across the map with a lot of vultures. Looks like he has a little bit more than Speed, but Speed sets up a supply depot at the front. That's going to cause a bit of AI disturbance there as JYJ tries to push in. Plus, he could possibly set up a bit of a concave here in his natural to make it hard for JYJ to attack in. Looks like Speed is safe for now, and he's making a bit of a transition with the armory coming up as well as a starport.
Yeah, definitely wants to go beyond just this vulture-heavy centric style of 4 factories pumping out units. He's got a lot of money actually in the bank, so even though he's a little bit behind the supply of JYJ, he does have a lot of money to spend, so he can probably easily make up that deficit maybe and beyond. He's got this CC making inside the main base as well to float that over to this natural third locations. Also JYJ teching up into an armory and some Goliaths of his own. I'm sure Speed will match him soon. Has that siege mode finally online, trying to secure a lane over to this right hand side of the map to allow this expansion to come down. Looks like though JYJ wants to take a bit of a gamble and make the CC on location at the third base. That can be seriously risky. If they're winning the vulture battle, you will not get that CC online. Massive mine connection on that tank as well, taking it down to red HP.
Gotta be very careful here. Moving forward through these minefields is super scary. JYJ, I mean, you can lose that tank really quickly as well. If a group of vultures makes its way down here, you could easily snipe that. CC gonna float out for Speed and repair this tank as he starts to press forward. JYJ and Speed been battling it out with vultures for so long, and this is honestly a great TVT so far. There's been a lot of back and forth here, almost breaking on either side multiple times, but both players are playing fantastic.
Right. They've been going toe-to-toe with these vulture war trades, so much so that we're now seeing a full-on transition from both players. 5th and 6th factory being thrown down from Speed, as well as producing a few of these drop ships, looking for some harassment damage potential, while JYJ is distracted on the front lines, setting up this third base. Looks like finally the barracks of JYJ going down, but he did kill Speeds way earlier, so his factory count is actually looking a lot more healthier than and on schedule in previous times times, but I think Speed is going to start to leapfrog and outscale him in that production for the time being. His third CC was also a little bit quicker. These beautiful mines, though, in the back, going to be spotting these vultures landing behind it. Tank actually almost detonating onto that siege tank that popped out from Speed. Luckily, he identified that and pulled it back into the dropship safely in time, but I don't think this drop is going to get a lot done now.
Yeah, we'll see if this drop can really do anything here. He managed to get 3 kills with a single Marine, so he's going to get something at least. He does get a couple kills on that mineral line, and setting up tanks here on the right-hand side. It's actually going pretty well for Speed initially. He will lose a couple of Goliaths here at the end of this fight, but great target fire there, actually killing off a lot of TY's forces. Not enough vision here for either player. Whoever scans first will actually get the kill.
Right, and I mean, this position could work out really well for Speed. I think the idea there was to try and draw the attention and some of the army back into the main base from JYJ, so there was less forces and attention available to slow down this advance on the vertical axis on the right side of the map here. And Speed wants to kind of run it down. He also would have another expansion to take if he can secure this location. Also apply pressure to the natural birth of JYJ. Lots of vultures running in, soaking up shots for the tanks of Speed to get into better firing positions. Now, trying to overrun this position of JYJ. 30 supply ahead and trying to capitalize on it. JYJ's forces are being crippled right now. Vultures slide in to that natural third to start ravaging the SEV lines as well. This is not looking good for JYJ.
Oh my gosh, JYJ just kind of fell apart here. Look at that, 1,000 minerals in the bank. He has completely lost it, and he will be tapping out. GG, wow. As soon as Speed ramps up, you can just see he puts the pressure on these Terran players and knocks JYJ out with a 1-2 punch attack towards the third and a drop in the main.
How crazy is it saying that in the game of StarCraft, in ASL, this special tournament, you have this round of 24 where just 2 games and you're eliminated? How crazy is it? They struggle year round, grinding out games, trying to practice to break through that qualifier stage, which can be so daunting alone. And even if you do make it into the round of 24, just 2 games and you're gone. Absolute insanity how hard it is to go deep in a tournament like this. Unfortunately, it wasn't JYJ's day or tournament today, unfortunately, but it is what it is. I mean, Speed is going to be joining us in that finals match against TY like we were hoping he would, and I think that is going to be an even more special TVT, saying I can't even wait.
Yeah, it's a fact. Getting here to the ASL round of 24, you gotta bring it. You can't be on a slouch. You cannot be playing below your peak if you want to get through that round of 24. Every game matters here when it's only a best of 1. It's insane how fickle this tournament is. Like you were saying, the qualifiers, every match is a best of 3, and then you get here to the round of 24 and it's all best of 1s. It's crazy, but it does produce some very interesting results, like we saw yesterday with Larva taking down Sharp. That was insane. That was not what I was expecting at all, but just that one map, Screaming Sea, pulled out an awesome strategy and showed us some fantastic StarCraft. Love to see it.
Yeah, I mean, the fires of this tournament, like, can either turn players into slag metal that's all just kind of misshapen and molded into unrecognizable shapes, or it forges you into the most sharpest and capable of swords in existence. And I think the reason why the players are so capable at this level is because these kind of brutal tournaments have honed them into being the most razor edge cutting devices known to the gaming scene. I mean, I can't even begin to explain to you how crazy it is to get to this level in StarCraft. There are so many gamers that would absolutely smash any of us on the ladder, but they can't even hold a candle to these guys that we're seeing on stage today. It's insanity how much of a zero-sum game StarCraft is. It really is like the best of the best of the best type situation, guys. we're going to be going here to commercial yet again. Take a little break, run to the bathroom, do what you got to do, grab some tipple, grab some popcorn, pop open a beer, whatever your poison, and then come back and enjoy the most epic TVT we're about to see for the evening. It's going to be TY versus Speed in the finals match.
All right, boys, it comes down to this. Our final match, TY versus Speed. A best of one. That's the way it goes in the round of 24. You got to show up. One game is all it takes. You can be eliminated here as a Speed or TY. But that's really the benefit of getting forward into the round of 4. If you manage to make it into the final 4,
Yeah.
then you get seeded into the round of 16. You get to skip over this incredibly chaotic round of 24.
And that's one of the reasons why Sulky's been getting back-to-back setups for these final placements, because he's been so tactical about not only spawning in that round of 16 seed, but being tactical about who he moves in and out of his groups and what have you, and avoiding like ZVZs and this kind of thing. And that's the advantage to going deep in a tournament. You can really set yourself up for future runs as well. The map's going to be Polestar, guys. This is a great map. I'm glad we're seeing a macro map here for this finals match between these two individuals. This could be a very long but still hectic TVT. TY loves to be very drop centric and use lots of harassment all game long in this matchup.
Metropolis, Radeon, or Polestar. Those are the 3 choices. The other 2 have been vetoed, and we're going to go to Polestar for our final map.
Both players are ready, guys. The ASL Season 20 Group B final match. It's TY versus Speed on Polestar. Let's get it, guys.
TY spawning in bottom right. Speed down here in bottom left. Are we going to get a long TVT, Xun? I mean, we have not seen very long TVTs recently in ASL at all. If Speed has anything to say about it, this is going to be a real quick one. He likes to put on that pressure, and like we saw last game, he does not stop. He just keeps the pressure on you, and it continues to harass you, hitting you absolutely everywhere and ending these games early. TVT has become a completely different matchup since JYJ was the ASL champion.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, gone are the days of it being a bit of a, chess-like slog. It's such a more dynamic, highly octane matchup now. I mean, these guys have nitrous injected into their engines these days. Not even including the Vulture Wars. Like, Vulture Wars was usually the only thing where TVTs would get a little bit hectic and more microcentric. That's just one facet of the matchup now. There's a lot more dropship harassment. Players are much more active and eager with how they try and seize territory from one another and challenge the lanes that have been set up. There's so much more dynamism at play. And I think with these horizontal spawns, though, there is that chance of a very quick game still. If this was cross map or vertical spawns, I might say it's almost guaranteed that we'll see a mid to late game phase, but it is that chance that both players get locked into early to mid game centric thinking here with these horizontal spawns.
It used to be the case in TVT that players basically, once +2 was done, didn't really challenge tank lines very often, but these days vultures have become so useful in breaking tank lines. These guys are so good at moving everything at the same time and getting the vultures up next to the tanks, laying down mines, dragging that fire, and then getting barely in range to siege up to be able to break those tank lines. So they're actually able to bust through lines later and later into the game, which makes it so much more of a dynamic matchup and not the kind of split map, crazy long game situation where, once your opponent has a good contain on you or has you kind of trapped in one area, you have to go drops or you're just kind of screwed. Players are now able to break out of those spots, and it keeps the matchup so much more dynamic and so much more fun to watch as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the later and later the game gets, vultures have less and less value, but they are utilized to full fruition in that mid to late game phase still now, and players have really figured out how to squeeze all of the drops of juice out of their oranges and other fruits of choice. I'm just so excited to see TY in the finals match. I wanted to see more from this guy. I wanted him to go out against Bisu and get 2-0, but I'm more than happy to see more games from him as well. I hope he doesn't get eliminated here, but I see this as a win-win, saying I think either our boy Speed gets through or TY does a bit of an upset and, you know, launches himself into that round of 16 too. I would love to see either scenario, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's not a bad situation either way. I expect Speed to win, but yeah, this could be an upset. We could see TY go through. That's just the nature of the round of 24, like we were saying. Best of one means you can get a win, even if the other player is stronger on paper. TY moving out right now with some vultures. A couple of Marines here. He's going to try to put some damage on this barracks. Speed,
Okay,
how is he going to respond?
But Speed was actually a little bit greedy here. He only made one single Marine. That's a little bit on the risky side. We talked about that earlier. How about if it was something like a BBS, you could just straight up die. He did also barely see that CC in the natural before the SCV went down. So, you know, Speed's aware of the build order choice of TY as well. TY making a starport in the back of his base. Meanwhile, Speed taking up, getting an armory out, so he will have options available to him to stop a Wraith from bullying him at the very least. So this could be a very interesting game on our hands. TY with an additional Marine can put a lot more DPS onto this barracks and not allow it to go into the main base for scouting information, whereas if TY wanted, he certainly could get this barracks of himself into the main base of Speed for a better scout.
This is interesting. Speed went around the barracks here and brought 3 vultures to the front. Is he planning to try and dive in here, kill a couple of vultures? Or, I mean, this is a very good defensive spot for TY. I don't think he can get anything done here. As soon as he sees the setup, I think he must be planning to turn around. He actually brings an SCV over to repair that barracks. If he brings it out of the red, he will bring it out of the danger zone and could enable that to continue floating here for a little bit longer.
Yeah, somebody called Danger, Kenny Loggins, because Speed might be going to the danger zone. He actually does dive in onto these vultures, had a 5-4 advantage, starts to retreat, gets his moving shot backwards onto that Marine, now takes out the 3rd vulture as well, but he's down to just 2 vultures remaining. 3rd does show up from that rally point. He did spot the Wraith as well in transit towards his natural expansion, so we can start making a Goliath as well. And look at this, TY in trouble as Speed getting some SCV kills. Now there is a tank, does do a good drill on the ramp, catches one of those vultures, but he has lost 4 or so SCVs to that vulture raiding party, and that will not now be compensated by this Wraith. He's only going to kill like 1 SCV with this Wraith before the Goliath screens it.
Yeah, this is a really good move by Speed, hiding his vultures by sliding around the barracks, and was able to get that advantage due to skipping that 2nd Marine, and was able to get the factory out just that tiny bit faster. All these little advantages matter so much in this matchup, and of course TY going for the starport, having that air advantage, just didn't quite have enough to hold on there in the natural. Now it's a full Goliath follow-up. Oh my goodness, Speed is really going to push the issue here. Goliaths in the very earliest stage of the game, they can be really strong against tanks. They eventually do fall off, and they're going to get absolutely splattered by the siege mode. But right now, these are a real threat, and TY is not respecting it here. He's got to pull back, pull the SCVs. Okay, this is a pretty good pull, and that setup with all the supply depots here in the front is going to make it really hard for TYT to dive this.
Yeah, I think 3 tanks and a supply depot wall just makes it almost impossible for Speed to accomplish anything. And now these burst lasers off these Wraiths, snagging a few additional SCV kills. Hang on a second, because TY is coming back into this game strong. Suddenly, though, Speed diving in with those Goliaths, does manage to kill one of those tanks. Another one about to fall as well. Does manage to target that down. Just 2 tanks remaining. SCVs coming up the line, trying to body block and drill onto those Goliaths to save the day. Does the tank go down? Yes, it does. 3 tanks have been eliminated for the low cost of just a few Goliaths and vultures, pressuring into the natural. Speed just absolutely on fire right now with these small scale trades. The Wraiths did a little bit of heavy lifting there for TY to keep himself as even as possible in this game, but killing 3 tanks is such a huge deal.
Yeah, getting those 3 tank kills, exactly what he was looking for. Would have liked to get a few SCVs as well, but TY manages to get some kills back with the Wraiths. Another supply depot goes down. That is a really good move from TY right now, making sure that these Goliaths cannot dive all the way in here to the back line, so he can utilize the range on these tanks to get a little extra damage on them as they try to push forward. He's actually putting on so much pressure here. He kills the supply depot. The supply depot is down. He's continuing to pressure. He actually has to keep this going and get a lot of kills here with this Goliath, because these do not scale. Diving right into the natural now. Two more tanks go down, and TY is absolutely on the ropes. He's just losing control in this game. So much is going down here. A Vulture in the main of Speed is getting some kills, but TY is losing so much to these Goliaths.
Yeah, the 2 Vultures did go into the natural and then the main to kill a few SEVs to help make up for the damage these Goliaths are doing, but I'm not sure it was enough. This game is still crazy even and hard to call exactly who is where, but I mean, this is a really high level gameplay we're seeing from Speed, trying to maintain this tiny window of advantage and secure the tempo advantage over and over again. Finally, TY doing a slightly better job of screening those Goliaths in conjunction with those SEVs, but more Goliaths are about to be brought to bear. This is still not over. I hope that siege mode is about to finish, because we might see Speed yet again dive onto these siege tanks saying, oh my gosh, what are we even watching right now? This many tanks dying to the Goliaths is almost unparalleled in most TVTs. Does get us around on that tank to finish it off. Another 2 tanks biting the dust. Siege is just about to finish. I think he has got some mines now as well to lay down in the wake of those Goliaths and tanks to try and hold the line, but this is just crazy from Speed in the early game. He's got 5 factories worth of Goliaths. This is like essentially a TVZ build that he's doing right now, and still making it pay off in such a spectacular fashion.
Speed's got to make a transition here pretty soon, though. TY will have siege mode eventually. That will occur. And with these mines here out front, it's going to be hard for him to push forward. Okay, he gets the scan. I'm surprised that he actually has scanner here, but he gets the scan off. He's going to push right through these mines now. And I mean, I guess he doesn't have a second scan here. Otherwise, he'd probably throw that down, clear these mines. There it is. Second scan pops up. He's actually going to get rid of all the mines. He can push forward here. Where is that siege mode? Where is the siege mode here, Xun?
Me? Where is the siege mode? I have no idea, saying he should have had that by now. It is long overdue. It looks like TY cut that to try and play catch up, and now is paying the price. These Goliaths will surge forward, and with those twin auto cannons targeting down the last remnants of this tank, targets the mines as well as they're being laid in the wake of those Goliaths. He will finally clean up these Goliaths. I think Speed has done enough damage to TY. Oh, look, a Vulture drop comes out from TY. I don't think this is going to be super successful, though. Looks like Speed was on top of it. Had some Goliaths waiting at the rally point locations of those factories for some counterplay from this. Finally, at long last, 11 minutes 20 into the game, we bloody have siege mode. I mean, come on, man. Make that upgrade a little bit quicker next time.
You would expect him to make that when so much pressure is being leveraged by Speed with those Goliaths, but he really heavily delayed that siege mode, maybe showing signs of, you know, this kind of awkward situation, having a hard time dealing with those. It's not the on the rails type of build that TY is used to, but he actually got a lot of damage done with the Vulture drop in the natural. We don't know exactly how much, but we did see in the picture-in-picture quite a few SCVs were going down while Speed was microing those Goliaths in the natural of TY. So getting some counter harassment, getting some damage done, but there's still a lot of Goliaths here, and oh my gosh, he's pushing forward, trying to come out against Speed right now. That is crazy. There are way too many Goliaths here to fight.
Wow, that's crazy. I can't believe how much Speed is outplaying TY right now. He's like on the cusp of like getting into a better position. There's some Vultures in the back line with a tank now, killing some SCVs. This is something for TY. It's not terrible, but it's not enough to do the heavy lifting required. He will save that tank by scooping it up with that hot drop ship. Now, Vulture's also coming into natural expansion, trying to get some more SCV kills to rack up the damage against Speed, but Speed has had his units in position to thwart the majority of these tanks, and TY went for a good maneuver of trying to lay down mines in the rally point location of Speed to cut off reinforcements so he could finally push him back away from his own natural. But Speed just on top of things on this high ground ramp we saw on screen there for a second, and has been just ramming it down all game long. Finally, though, TY has opened up the lane to that 3 o'clock location to take a third base at long last.
Oh my gosh, he's actually going to try to shove forward here. Speed is crazy, man. He is absolutely a madman, and the mad genius here is actually getting even more damage and getting a much better position. It's going to be very hard for TY to break now. That's so many Goliaths. It's time to make the switch over. I'm really surprised to see Speed continue to make like this. Actually, TY slowing down this third base as well. He's going to get in here with another drop, too. Dropping the tank on top of the other tank. No, he's not going to. Just going to fly through and try to get on top of this natural as well. This is some fantastic damage trying to make up this deficit right now.
Yeah, this is really great play from TY. He's also killed that SCV that was trying to build the third command center for quite some time. Delaying that expansion is critical. He's got his own third base coming up now at the 3 o'clock. He's transferring SCVs over. He'll actually be mining from that base before Speed is mining from his. He is behind in supply by about 25 or so. He has got a big deficit to still overcome. He might be able to do it, though. He has the position necessary to do so, and he does love using these drop shifts. We talked about it before the match, and he's very drop ship centric in his play style, always loving to harass from start to finish in these games. A lot of Terran players harass a little bit in the mid game with those dropships, then primarily use them to just launch massive assaults into the main production line, like 3 or 4 dropships at a time, but not TY. TY will be doing drop harass all game long. It actually surprises a lot of pros. They don't expect him to carry on with this kind of style of play, but he still makes it pay off.
Yeah, I've seen translated videos of pros talking about TY and his kind of wild style of just continuing to throw drops over and over again. They're like, this is not StarCraft 2, but TY kind of plays it like StarCraft 2, just sending drops constantly being on top of his opponent. Now coming up here with the tanks, he's going to get the siege up in time, and this army is actually going to kind of flank what Speed has out on the map. Speed can sort of walk around this and not take the engagement with this. It's not boxing him in at all. But this is a weird situation where TY is kind of on the other side of the map, and Speed has a small army on TY's side of the map. Looks like he's going to move around this now and look towards the middle, taking that center control away from TY and starting to spread out towards the north side.
Yeah, I mean, TY needs to be super careful right now. He hasn't got that many tanks on the periphery of Speed's base, and they could easily be flanked and boxed in by the massive standing army of Speed. He's actually going to rotate around to launch an assault on the third base of TY to also secure the high ground away from him. Meanwhile, TY trying to ram it down on the rally point location to get his contain going on Speed, but it's not enough back at home to hold the lines against this. Speed is going to eliminate these tanks on the high ground, secure this advantageous position for himself, force a full-on evacuation from that third base as well. So many SCVs are going to die as they try and get out of dodge, and unfortunately for TY, Speed getting the better end of the stick. Yes, he's contained Speed here, but he's also going to be contained back at home, as well as losing so many SCVs and the ability to mine from the 3 bases. Now 3 base Terran versus 2, pulling the boys off the line, trying to get on top of these siege tanks that aren't protected from Speed. He actually will clean up these tanks here at his natural expansion and be able to go back to mine at his own third base, Saiyan, but still Speed coming out ahead on the supplies.
Yeah, he is, but I mean, these tanks were hitting his supply or his SCVs for quite a while. Speed not pulling those SCVs initially here, hoping that he could clear or at least hold back TY with just the tanks and the natural. This is a wild game we're seeing right now, Xun. I'm not sure who's going to come out on top here. Looks like Speed wants to go ahead and grab another base. Yeah, that base at center right did not go down. It was just lifted off, so it manages to survive. And so this game will continue on with both players growing into the mid game.
I think Speed definitely in a more advantageous position. He's going to get his 4th base online much sooner than TY. He's got that CC building now at his natural 3rd. He will be floating that to the 9 o'clock soon enough. Yeah, I'm a little bit worried for TY here. It's not just the fact that he's like 24 supply behind. I just worry about his position. I don't think he can hold the center of the board against Speed. The scans will be cleaning up all of these mines that are laid down to try and buy some time for his tanks to get into position. I think the count of tanks for Speed slightly superior, so he will be able to hold the center of the board against TY. And I think TY has to allocate too many resources to holding the center. I guess, yeah, he can expand down towards the southern side of the map. So he's going to take his natural 3rd now as his 4th base. That will be okay for a time, but there will be this battle for the 6 o'clock that will take place. And if TY is unable to take a 5th base in this game, it will be a slow, painful death by 1,000 cuts over the course of 15 to 20 minutes.
Here we go. The switch into Wraiths. Now look, both players floating out CCs. TY just gonna go ahead and float his main out onto the map. Oh, not quite able to get the SCVs to repair in time there. If you get 3 SCVs repairing the tank, you can keep that alive pretty much indefinitely. What am I seeing here? The tanks just didn't fire? Did you see that?
Yeah, I had no idea what happened there. Were they glitched out or something? Like, what even happened?
That was definitely in range.
Yeah, we've got another vulture drop here from TY into natural expansion. We'll put 2 vultures in the natural and 2 in the main, trying to apply pressure to Speed. Like we were talking about before, TY loves to do drop ships all game long, but it's not going to be enough to deter Speed. He's 30 supply ahead. He's got his 4th base floated over and mining already. So does TY. So he's technically keeping up in the ebb and flow of this game, but slowly but surely Speed will try and box him in to only being able to take 4 or 5 expansions maximum. That's why we can see this contention here over the northern hemisphere of the map. Speed wants to try and stop TY from having access to the northeast quadrant of the map and force him to have to instead battle over the 6 o'clock position. That is not a position TY wants to find himself in, but it might come to fruition regardless.
Finally, Speed shuts down that dropship. Man, that thing has been so active this entire game, but it will finally be taken care of by the Wraiths. Looks like 2 Wraiths going to go down here. That's a little bit rough. Speed switched into Wraiths and actually took out TY's Wraiths, and it was kind of a sweet little play there for Speed because the Goliaths hadn't been made yet. Now Speed actually, yeah, this is going to be a huge bust here. If he gets this control over this high ground, that's going to be so hard for Speed to retake. Speed coming up to try and just hold on to just a little corner of this high ground, but he's having a very hard time. A beautiful move here from TY, bringing all his forces together and punching through the center. He's getting closer and closer to the natural, and Speed will have to retreat.
Yeah, this is a big timing window for TY. He has +2 on his siege tanks, so the +1 of Speed. That means those arc light shot cannon shots only take 2 hits to kill a tank, whereas it takes 3 for Speed to kill TY's, at least for the time being, until his own +2 weapons finish up. And he's trying to exploit that small timing window now to seize more territory away from Speed, open up the lane to take the 6 o'clock base if necessary, as well as launch assaults now into the center against these fortified positions of Speed. I don't know if Speed has his +2 yet finished. He doesn't actually, so TY definitely winning out on the trades, but still not the supply just yet. The production of Speed has been superior for the time being, but so has the tech of TY paid off in a big way. Finally is now Speed trying to break up onto this high ground towards that 6 o'clock position yet again. There's a lot of siege tanks being brought to bear from TY though to lock out from Speed. Beautiful run by of vultures though, getting over into this natural 3rd location, ravaging the SCV lines and slowing down the timing of that 5th CC from being floated to that 6 o'clock location.
Speed not quite able to save that tank as the mines are thrown down. He's managed to produce quite a few Wraiths. Will he be able to push up onto this high ground with the support of the Wraiths? Now, I don't see any Goliaths in this area to try and help this out, so actually Speed may be able to take the high ground here pretty quickly, pretty simply with just a couple of quick moves. There's the +2 finally coming into play here. Speed on even footing will be able to shove all of this stuff back, and TY is on the ropes.
Wow, and here we see such a massive tempo shift for Speed. He's going to seize this high ground position, back away from TY. Cloaked Wraiths also coming out to be a tactical thorn in his side. He's applying pressure now to this natural third location as well, with those burst lasers, having to retreat with some Goliaths down to that natural third, further exposing his other tank position. Now he's going to have to keep rotating Goliaths around to and fro from that tank line to his natural third. Meanwhile, Speed taking his own fifth base in that northwest quadrant of the map, much safer and undeterred in doing so. Meanwhile, TY being locked out from any hopes of taking a fifth base for the time being, saying and more of those precious tanks falling to the Wraiths.
Yeah, the Wraiths are doing a fantastic job just keeping the vision on these tanks and picking off tanks that have taken a little bit too much damage. As soon as you've taken a hit there from these tanks, very easy to just slide in and get the finishing blow. Trying to move forward just a little bit here. TY holding on to this fourth base for now. Both players have mined out of their main base, and actually Speed is mined out of his natural as well. So TY's natural not long for this world. It's a very scrappy TVT here, guys, and we can expect this to continue until the very final bell. So close in supply now, actually, as TY bursts up to 124, and Speed is just roaming with these Wraiths, picking off whatever he can. This is getting so much value.
Oh, it's absolutely insane how many tanks and SCVs he's been able to kill with these Wraiths as the game has been ticking by. He tried to get there into that top left pocket with a Vulture raiding party, did TY, but Speed quickly shut that down. If somehow TY had killed that building SCV and slowed down the expansion, maybe there'd be something to write home about, but unfortunately, no. He's 10 supply behind. He's lost his position on this map. He needs to establish a lane to the northeast quadrant of the map so he can keep expanding vertically and split the map in half that way to maintain his hopes in this game. It is very hard to leverage your advantage in TVT. It does sometimes take a good 10-15 minutes until you'll eventually turn into win. Needs to be careful though. Some mine connections onto these tank lines as he's pushing out into the center. It seems like TY doesn't want to split the map. He wants to go on the offensive. He wants to rotate around all the way to the western flank of this map, cut off the path of reinforcement to that northwest quadrant and try and lock down this base from being mined by Speed. I'm not sure it's going to be the right decision, though. I think Speed will be able to hold him off.
Wow, this game has really opened up. You can see the map was being dominated by Speed, getting a complete surround on TY. Now TY way out on the top side here, holding this high ground and opening up all of the top right for expansion. Speed gonna look for holes in the defenses, see if he can slip some vultures through to try and slow down some of these CCs. He's still got this little outpost on the high ground in the middle of the map between their two main bases, and so he can launch assaults from here. And you know what? TY is not prepared for this attack. He's gonna lose a lot of SCVs here. But these SCV kills are mattering less and less at this point. We're getting into a longer and longer game. Yes, this is good damage, but the position is starting to be more and more impactful.
Yeah, I mean, if he can somehow lock down the rest of these locations at the southern middle portion of the map, this will be really good for TY. The problem is that he has allocated a lot of defenders to this high ground position in the northern hemisphere to lock out Speed from coming up to that portion of the map. And it's great, though. That does mean TY can expand to his heart's content, but it means elsewhere he'll be less fortified and will open up more lanes of attack to Speed to come around the map with his vultures. And look at this, the count of Wraiths has reached such a threshold that he's going to start annihilating these tanks even quicker than before. It's almost like TY needs some Valkyries or something at this point. These Wraiths are way too high of count. That's 10 cloaked Wraiths he has to contend with. Dropship from TY coming into that northwestern quadrant at long last, but he's losing so many tanks to those Wraiths.
Yeah, a lot of pro players right now are building Valkyries kind of too early, but TY holding off on trying to build those units for quite a long time, and it's allowed Speed to build up such a count of Wraiths and get so many kills. these are paying for themselves in dividends, man. There's so much damage that's already been done, and he can still look around, start roaming the map, looking for bases like this that just don't have any defense or tanks that don't have any anti-air, and it's up to TY to keep moving Goliaths around and keep these scans going. Otherwise, he's just going to take massive damage.
Yeah, both players have long since mined out their main and naturals. The third base as well will start to be drying up, so they'll have less and less bases to produce units off for the time being. They need to keep expanding aggressively. You see another expansion sprouting up for TY in the top right, as well as one for Speed in the top left, though. A little bit of a vulture raiding party shutting down the SCV, building that CC. Here come the Wraiths in support of the tanks, though, at the natural third location of TY. He has got some Goliaths and Vessel in support to detect those and deter those, but not enough to challenge that massive flood of tanks that's pressuring that natural third. He will have to evacuate that position. Those Gemini missiles will easily rip through the metal of that command center as well. He's not going to save that.
Yeah, that command center goes down rapidly, and TY is being forced onto a smaller and smaller parcel of land here. He does have a lot of area in the top right, but his main base is going to start to go down as Speed pushes over here towards this wall that's so close to the supply depot line of TY. TY, meanwhile, moving through the middle of the map. He's looking to cut off. No, he just taps out. Oh my goodness. Realizing the position is so rough there as Speed moves towards that main base. TY taps out, but I'm surprised he wanted to give up right at that moment. It's just without making any Valkyries, really, and trying to counter those Wraiths. Those Wraiths did so much work.
It's true. I think it was a little bit too late, though, to come back from the game at that point. He was more than 40 supply down. He lost one of his critical mining bases, couldn't do a lot to slow down the economy of Speed as well. So he was at least one mining base behind at that junction of the game when they only have a few mining bases to operate from was critical. And I mean, he probably could have stayed in that game for another 5-10 minutes, but unless he had started to produce Valkyries earlier, I don't think there's much hope for him to come back in this game. Speed is just too much, man. I'm happy we at least got to see 3 games out of TY. I hope he doesn't get too disheartened by this. It's great that he was able to perform this well in the ASL after coming back for so long ago, and yeah, really showed us why he was considered such an up-and-coming player back in the day. He's very talented and has StarCraft in his blood, but Speed is a more recent fashion trend that's on fire right now and was more than enough to dismantle him both positionally and economically here in the final match, Sam.
Yeah, it did seem like Speed is just hitting his macro beats so strongly, and you know, I really feel like that Wraith play carried Speed in this game. It seems like TY, I want to say it again, TY doesn't seem to have maybe the experience, or like he doesn't seem to react as well. He's not as good of a reactive player. He really fumbles the ball when it comes to, you know, having to make changes to his game plan and freestyle. Yeah, that's a good word for it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, saying that's exactly the stylistic issue that this guy has right now. He will have to adapt to the modern meta and figure some things out. He hasn't played enough games to really dial it in. He obviously can hang with some of the best players because he's, you know, a raw StarCraft player through and through from such a young age, but he hasn't played enough games in the last decade to really figure out what he needs to do in response to some of these modern takes of the game. There's going to be a lot of stuff he hasn't seen before and hasn't got the time to sit and think about how you would like to best go about dealing with it. So until he plays another few hundred, a few thousand games in time for the next ASL, it's going to be hard for him to more efficiently respond to these kinds of active threats, guys. But what a special group today. I'm glad it was action-packed and not a boring TVT slog like it can sometimes turn out to be. There is no disappointing, boring games here in the ASL, it seems. And we have another insane group coming up here tomorrow, guys, in Group C. It's going to be Mini, Soma, Sark, and Saber. That's going to be crazy. Finally, we get to see some games from Soma, saying we've had him in the KCM quite a few times, and players like Jaedong just dominating too much to even let him get any limelight.
Yeah, I'm so excited to see what kind of shape Soma's in, and he's been out in the military for the past year or so. I think it's a little bit less than 2 years, that mandatory service. So he's been away for quite some time. Has been grinding a bit on ladder and, of course, practicing behind the scenes. He's the dark horse in this tournament. We're not sure if he's going to go out, round of 16. I doubt he'll go out in the round of 24. He's probably going to make it through, but I'm really curious to see how far he will go. Some people are rating him really, really highly, and even imagining that he might be able to, go to the finals this season.
I mean, Soma, I saw him play a few games against Flash when he first came back. He looked insanely strong, man. Flash was just getting torn apart like he was like some lower tier player. It was insane how strong the all-ins were of Soma, outmaneuvering, outflanking, and just crushing Flash at every junction. I want to see more from that guy, though. And I just haven't seen enough games from him to really know where he stacks up against some of these other guys. But I don't really rank players like Sark that highly. I think that A should be a U or something. Saber, he's one of these up and coming Zergs that have kind of broken through the ranks to set himself apart from some of these other lower guys. That's the weird thing about StarCraft. There's so many players like Saber that are trying to break through. It's almost like that scene in from the Game of Thrones where like Jon Snow and all of his men are completely surrounded on all sides and they're struggling to breathe and they're trying to like just claw their way to the surface to get some oxygen. That's what it's like trying to break out into the pro scene of StarCraft. Only a couple of these guys can make it. Saber's been one of them, a pretty solid macro Zerg. He's probably not quite as good as someone like Sark, but Sark is nowhere near holding a candle to Mini and Soma.
Yeah, it's his first time in the ASL, so he's got a very tall order here, trying to get through a group with two extremely solid and well-storied players like Mini and Soma. I'm expecting Mini and Soma to blast through this group, but we'll see. Maybe there can be some sort of an upset. I just really, I'm super excited to see what Soma could do.
Yeah, I just want to see Soma play. I don't care if he gets out of the group. I want him to obviously get through the group, but I just want to see him play at least 3 games tomorrow, if not going out of the group first with 2. I just want to see this guy perform. I haven't hardly seen him play. He's been back in the scene for so long, and every time he's in something like a KCM roster, someone else just seems to dominate and not even allow him to get some chance to shine. I'm so curious where he stacks up against some of these other guys in the tournament, but we're going to be finding out not too long from now, guys. If you're watching this on YouTube, just so you know, we do actually stream these live over on superlive.com/SCTVEN. Please come and join us live if you are able to. If it is a little bit late for you and you can't manage it, that's okay. We still appreciate you tuning in, watching, and supporting StarCastTV, guys. We just here for the love of the game. I want to bring you some great matches.
Absolutely, Xun. Couldn't have said it better myself. And if you guys want to support what we do, we cast the ASL, the SCSL, and the KCM as a duo now. And we've set up a Patreon page, so you guys can check that out. It's Saiyan Xun Duo Cast if you'd like to support. Thank you so much, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for another amazing series in the round of 24.
Thanks, guys.